Welcome to Geek on Film with your host, Robbie Holmes. Hey there. Welcome to episode 11 of Geek on Film Season 3. I'm happy to jump right in to a couple of television shows I've been watching, and then a couple of films, and then our main review of Death of a Unicorn. So I just want to hit on two shows that I watched in the last week. Excessive Force, episode 6 of season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. The show is hit or miss for me. I'm having a hard time as someone who was an old school Daredevil comic fan. I feel like there's some pretty deep knowledge and lore that's necessary in order to be able to be a part of this story. And I feel like that is not what I expected going into this season. I don't know the character of Muse very well, and I feel like we're bouncing around between the idea of like an episode, a monster of the week kind of feeling, to a law firm, to a longer overarching story. It just doesn't feel like a cohesive decision. It feels like it's being sort of multiple types of shows slamming together into one sort of muddy mess. I don't hate it. I just wish it was a little more unified. Some of the fight sequences in this episode were really good. I think the fight between Daredevil and Muse was pretty awesome. The leading up to him getting back into the Daredevil costume was cool. I think the fight between Fisk and his wife's lover was pretty unbelievable. And mirroring the type of fighting. I think it was a really a cool set of scenes. I'm having a harder time with the overarching show itself this season. All right, let's jump over to episode 7 of season 3 of White Lotus. The White Lotus is episode Killer Instincts. Rick confronts a suspected nemesis in Bangkok. Belinda takes Zion to Chloe's party. Saxon questions Timothy's behavior. Lori attends the Muay Thai fight with Valentine, and Gaitak dates Mook. There are so many separate storylines still going on in this show. I think that there are still a huge amount of table setting. I think we're currently getting little drips and drabs of where the story is moving forward every episode, but I still feel like we are up against it when it comes down to us getting to the finale. I know the final episode is going to be 90 minutes. I think it's basically like a feature-length film episode, but there's been an awful lot of table setting and not a lot of stakes. I think Sam Rockwell is probably the standout of this season, just dropping in. I think he would probably be a shoo-in for guest appearance in a limited series. I think that we again get Amy Lou playing Chelsea, sort of the MVP of the season. I'm slowly coming around to how good Patrick Schwarzenegger is as Saxon. I think that his story is the one with the most levels of chaos, but also probably the most possibility for redemption. And it seems like he is leaning into that. I think Tim's storyline has sort of been very stagnant and slow. I think we've seen over and over again all these visions of what he is willing to do because of the pressures of the world and the life and his choices that he's made. It's just, I can't get away from this episode without calling out how amazing Carrie Coon is in this. I feel like I listened to a podcast and they talked about how the show started with Lori, her character, sort of feeling a little disheveled and a little not all together. And then after the previous episode and feeling her oats a little bit and really laying into her friends and being honest and real, she really sort of stepped forward and has decided she's going for it and she's just going to enjoy herself. And I think Carrie Coon is fantastic in this episode. I think you get to see like her charisma, how confident she comes across. And I think the characters of Kate and Jacqueline are sort of now almost like cannon fodder for the powerhouse that Carrie Coon is bringing to the table. And I think Michelle Monaghan's been fantastic in Leslie Bibb. I just think this was the breakout episode for Carrie. And she was great in the last episode. You could start to see her feeling herself and her oats a little bit. And then this episode is where it sort of comes to fruition. So many things going on. Again, too much to talk about in sort of a quick recap. All right, so let's talk about some films. I couldn't have chosen two films that were more different this week, I feel like. So it really did amuse me to make these choices. So, first, we'll talk about Princess Mononoke. So, Princess Mononoke is a film from 1997. Our friends at IMDb have it as while seeking to cure himself of a curse, a young warrior Ashtaka stumbles into a conflict between the people of Irontown and Princess Mononoke, a girl who raised by wolves who will stop at nothing to prevent the destruction of her home. This movie was written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It is one of the Studio Ghibli sort of masterpieces, is the way that people talk about it often. It's a film that I had never seen, and there is a 4K restoration that was available to see in IMAX, so I went and saw that. My review over on Letterboxd is 3.5 stars with a heart. First viewing was today in IMAX. I don't have a lot of experience with Miyazaki or Studio Ghibli. The animation is stunning. The story is a bit convoluted, but the vibes and feelings are great. I was truly impressed with the movie. I would say the bigger problem I had is I am not someone who has sort of grown up and been educated on how to watch Miyazaki films and what to expect. I think that from my perspective, I enjoyed the film a lot. And then listening to people talk about it and how this was the first this is the first Miyazaki film that had any digital animation, and that was the animating features of the demon, the sort of worms that were being done. So there's a reason why there's a little bit of a distinct feeling of those of the demon versus the rest of the characters. I really liked the movie a lot. I was really impressed with the animation. I had heard that this is a film that was one of the most expensive films that was ever made up to this point in an animation standpoint. It had like 140,000 cells. Rumored that Miyazaki himself touched up or worked on 80,000 of those cells. It's a pretty crazy and over the top film. It feels like from the two or three films I've seen in Miyazaki's catalog, this one is the one that almost is the text for a lot of what I ended up seeing in other films. It's a little bit of like capitalism versus nature, a little bit of humanity against nature, a little bit of mysticism, a little bit of animal culture, of how we are destroying everything, and like modernization is at fault in so many cases. I liked it a lot. I'm sure that some of you are going to be unhappy with a 3.5 star rating, but it is something that I can say definitively I will never forget seeing. But it is also not a film that resonated with me as high as films in the 4 to 4.5 star range. I did like it. I look forward to seeing more of Miyazaki's films. I just am not sure how many of them are going to be my films. If you want to see it, you can catch it right now in IMAX. It's probably the best way you're ever going to see it. It was pretty stunning to see, and the animation looks almost like somebody could have drawn it this year. It was really beautiful. There's a lot of texture and depth to everything that's going on. Yeah, go see it. Next up for me, I listened to the Big Picture podcast. I've mentioned it a bunch of times. There was a really fun episode with Alex Ross Perry and Sean talking about slasher films. And I really enjoyed that because I'm slowly becoming a little bit of a horror fan. This geek has always been a sort of scaredy cat, and I've been slowly dipping my toe into the horror space. And I think the thing that they were talking about was slasher films. So I've watched Black Christmas, which is one of the sort of, the thing that people often talk about as one of the first real slashers. And one of the other ones they mentioned in the process was Prom Night. And I think it was, I don't remember the exact context. So I added it to my watch list, and I was looking the other day for a film to watch. Sort of just a palate cleanser, something simple and easy. And I realized that this is a film that has Jamie Lee Curtis in it that I've never seen. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let's say it was a film shot in, it was released in 1980. Our friends at IMDb have Prom Night. The synopsis is a high school a senior prom a masked killer stalks four teenagers who were responsible for the accidental death of a classmate 6 years previously. It was written by William Gray, Robert Guza Jr., and directed by Paul Lynch. We'll get back to this. I'm going to go over to my review over on Letterboxd. Uh, so I give it 1.5 stars and no heart. This feels like a producer had a long night of cocaine, Carrie, Saturday Night Fever, and Halloween triple feature, and woke up the next morning and was like, "I've got it. I will make the Black Christmas of disco and prom night and prom and call it prom night." I was hopeful that this would go all the way from bad to campy, but yeah, it just stalled out and is uninspiring and boring. There's more tension and care into the first phone call made by the killer to Jude than there was in the killing of a child in the first 10 minutes. The extras dancing at the prom are so low key and lackluster, you might want to go and check them for a pulse. The students in this high school were all apparently left back a minimum of 6 years. There's not a teenager to be found. So many of the adults smoking cigarettes at school, both teachers and students. It was messy, man. Let's take a quick look at our cast. That's right. Leslie Nielsen was Mr. Hammond, playing Jamie Lee Curtis's Kimberly Hammond's father. And then you have Nick McBride, played by Casey Stevens, Anna Marie Martin playing Wendy Richards, Antoinette Bauer playing Mrs. Hammond, Michael Toff playing Alex Hammond, Robert A. Silverman playing Mr. Sykes, Peter Oliver playing Vicky, David Mucci playing Lou Farmer, Jeff Wincott playing Drew Shinnick, Mary Beth Rubins playing Kelly Lynch. Yeah, I don't need to go any further. This movie was really bad and really uninspired. It really did feel like we need to capitalize right now on making a movie immediately that might make some money. And so they threw $1.5 million at it. And lo and behold, it made $14.8 million because people will watch almost anything, especially in the horror space, is what I found. This movie was not fun, was not even worth coming around to see it again. Apparently, it has a cult following that is sprung up around it. God, yeah, it's available in a lot of places. This is the most links I've ever made to a movie. It's available on Amazon Prime, on Hulu, on Canopy, on Hoopla, on Peacock. It's everywhere. You can't get away from this movie. Oh, it's yeah. So yeah, don't watch it. But unless you're really hard up and you're like, you know what I really need to see, a not great slasher movie. Okay, our main review this week, Death of a Unicorn, written by and directed by Alex Schroffman. IMDb has it as a father-daughter duo, Elliot and Ridley, hit a unicorn with their car and bring it to a wilderness retreat of a mega-wealthy pharmaceutical CEO. I will jump over to my review real quick. I have it as 3.5 stars with a heart. It was silly fun time at the movies. Will Poulter is so funny, and Jenna Ortega can truly do anything. I just saw this movie the other day. I actually saw it with my wife, which is really exciting. She usually isn't down for films like this, but an A24 sort of creature horror film was not what I expected her to be into, but very exciting that she was. The cast for this film is Jenna Ortega as Ridley, Paul Scott as Elliot, David Pasquale as Pilot, Anthony Kerrigan as Griff, Richard E. Grant as Odell, Taya Leone as Belinda, Will Poulter as Shepard, Jessica Hines as Shaw. Let's jump over to Sunita Mani as Dr. Bahatia and Steve Park as Dr. Song. I think that's probably the majority of who we see. This movie's really fun. It's you really can't get too excited about it, in my opinion. It's the kind of film that I saw the trailer and was like, don't need to see anything else. Couldn't be more in right now. The story is exactly as is described. A father who is a lawyer and does compliancy work inside of a pharmaceutical company is being offered the ability to be sort of the proxy and take control of the family's interest in the company as the patriarch of the family is dying of cancer. They want to see that he is a sort of family man. They want to get to know him. They are the epitome of like out of touch, rich elites. They are not good people. The Leopolds are sort of caricature-esque bad people. You have, Will Poulter playing this sort of fail son as Shepard, and then Taya Leone playing the sort of philanthropic, caricature-esque, stereotypical rich person's wife. And then Odell being played by Richard E. Grant, who is just sort of like, you know, over the top, caricature esque CEO guy. And then I think sort of there's so many little moments of fun in this movie. I think every line that is written that comes out of Will Poulter's mouth is gold. I think that Odell and Belinda are a little caricaturesque, and they're almost a little one note. After a while, you realize what you're getting. And Paul Rudd is written; his character Elliot is written as a very flat, sort of justifiably trying to take care of his daughter after the death of his wife, but he's written very one note and very flat. Paul Rudd is usually just a charm magnet, and he's doing everything he can to put a basket over that, a bushel over his light. And Jenna Ortega is doing everything she can to be the emotional heart and center of this movie. I think this movie is never going to go down as a great movie. I think what's going to happen is people are going to talk about this as one of those movies where Jenna Ortega proved to everybody that she is a star and she can actually carry a movie, because everybody else is in the fallout of her beacon of light. She's unbelievable in this movie. She's like a walking empathetic heartbeat. She has these sort of extremely expressive, I've talked about her in the past. She's so expressive. Her eyes are expressive. The way she looks at people is like, you feel what she's feeling. And I think that's what we hope for when you go see a movie. You want every aspect of that character's existence to be obvious to you. And I think that as Ridley, you realize how conflicted she is with her father, how much he frustrates her, how much she has detest for what the Leopold stand for, how much she cares for the unicorn they hit, how much she is afraid of the impact and the outcomes, and not just because of their lives, because of what this means for what they did, kind of for their souls. I think I was really impressed with her in this movie. I couldn't say more positive things about her. I think this was a really ambitious first film. I think this is kind of the epitome of what our friends at Film Spotting talk about for the golden brick, which is sort of an early filmmaker in their career, a film that is showing what they could do and what they could possibly do in the future. And I think this is really one of those experiences. So I would say we should probably pay attention to what Alex is going to do in the future. I liked it. I think you should see it. It's currently in theaters. I hope it stays in theaters long enough for you get a chance to see it in that kind of environment. We went and saw it at Dolby Digital Theater. The sound is fantastic. The attacks are fun. The kills are gory and gross, but that's to be expected. It's a kaiju film wrapped into a mystical pharmaceutical company. You can even tell by the sounds. There's so many homages. There's homages to Alien. There's homages to Jurassic Park. There's like you can read the influences on Alex like sleeve all the way through this movie. I enjoyed it. It was really good. I don't know it's a movie I'm going to revisit, but I do think it's the kind of film that you will really enjoy. Go see it in a theater if you can. That's it for me this week. I'm Robbie, the Geek everywhere online. We're Geek on Film, Geek on Film.com on all the social medias, geekonfilm.com to find out and read reviews of other films I'm reviewing. Please rate and review. It would be really helpful if you rated and reviewed in Spotify and in Apple Podcasts specifically, but wherever you're listening to this, please, and reach out anytime. I'd love to hear from you about the podcast, about what I'm right or wrong about. Thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye. This has been a Geek on Film podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.